my God, and we're actually even starting right on time. Is rad. Look at that. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I've got multiple devices.
Fancy.
I know, so fancy. Hello, everybody. Hello. Hi, Randy. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in 2 days, which is egregious. We need to do this every day, honey. Every day. So I'm really excited that you are your very, very first guest on In the Spotlight. And then I hadn't realized until we created the bit.ly link that In the Spotlight is ITS. So it's like, it's Randi Buckley, which is really exciting.
That was smart.
You know?
That was that's cool.
It's cool. All right. We only have 30 minutes. We'll probably go a couple minutes over because that's just kind of how we roll. Can somebody who's watching here on Crowdcast type a little something so we know that it's not just the two of us talking at each other, which is also one of our favorite things. Oh, hi, Monica. Thank you. Hello, Susan. And thank you so much for your question. You can see and hear us. Mandy says, hiya. Hello. So, yay. So excited. So super quickly, inaugural In the Spotlight. This is the very first, which is what inaugural means. Every week I'm going to be talking with a guest star that I love who's an expert in their field. And this week is the beloved Randi Buckley. So thank you for being here, sister. It's really good to have you.
Thank you. And this is, I'm really excited for you and for me to watch these. So thank you for having me as your inaugural guest.
Yeah, my pleasure. So because we don't have, I feel like I'm getting a weird echo, but I'm not going to worry about it. The intersection between, okay, so like, where do I even want to start here? Mm-hmm. My work in the world is in the imposter complex. I say that I'm a reluctant expert in the imposter complex. I say that the universe has this funny little way, the moment we decide that we know a lot about something, then we must be challenged with it on the daily. And I don't know if you know this, Randi, but pretty much every time I take the stage and I start talking about this reluctant expert status that I have, I bring you in. And I'm like, just like my friend Randi Buckley, you know, like I'm an expert in boundaries, therefore my boundaries are going to get tested on the regular. And then I go, and then there's our friend Danielle. She's in number 5,737 that she's so smart. She's an expert in desire, so she gets to experience that. Anyway, imposter complex, boundaries. And so this is up, and it's really up this week. So I don't know if there's something astrologically. It is. I have not had a single conversation with any of my clients this week where boundaries hasn't come up. Are you feeling that too?
Yes, it does seem to be particularly juicy this week. I don't know what's going on. I mean, for me, everything relates back to boundaries just in some way. And this week has just been prime.
Yeah. Well, I guess it doesn't hurt too that I'm hyper aware because we're also running a webinar together on boundary bolstering next Tuesday. So it's sort of that, like, you know, the moment you discovered that you were pregnant, all you could see was pregnant people everywhere, right? So there is that, to be certain. So there's about 3 different places I want to go, and we have a question from Susan already. So I'll just let anybody know if they do have questions, the place to ask them will be over here on Crowdcast. I know that some of you are watching from Facebook. We're not going to have a ton of questions because we didn't announce this too far in advance at all. I announced it this morning. So there's that unfortunate situation. But for me, the connection with the imposter complex, the intersection, is when we lose ourselves, when we're feeling like an imposter, mm-hmm. Oftentimes we will do whatever it is we can to get to reestablish connection with the group. And sometimes that means one of the coping mechanisms we'll use will be to allow our boundaries to leak. There are 5 other attributes: perfectionism, procrastination, blah, 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 that I talk about all the time. But boundaries are really a critical aspect. And I think that most of my lessons, I'll just say this for myself, the places that I've been challenged with my boundaries have really taught me have been my places of greatest strength, you know? And that's what I see almost every time in my clients, when they start bolstering their boundaries, that's when it feels like there's a shift in their mindset in terms of their leadership capacity, in terms of the ownership of and ownership of their life, not to put too fine a point on it. So that for me is the intersection. When you're feeling like an imposter, you're going to do whatever it is. So you're going to agree with, you're going to say yes when you mean no. How else does it show up for you as it relates to the imposter complex?
So one of the biggest ways I see it for me in all the healthy boundary work is people don't feel they are worthy of their boundaries. They are an imposter to who am I? Or I've been told that I can't do this. And so it comes back to this feeling, often it comes back to this feeling of unworthiness, which I think is another mask for imposter complex. I'm not worthy of that. Who am I? I can't do this. And that comes up time and time again. And either people haven't seen them modeled, so they don't even know they can have them, or they've seen boundaries modeled very poorly, and they're like, I don't want to do that. So they're unwilling to.
What would you mean? Like, what would like boundaries being modeled poorly look like to you?
So,
like, not being modeled is one thing, but like, what do bad boundaries look like?
So you've seen somebody honor their boundaries, or I hear enforce your boundaries a lot. I prefer honor because I think there's a different energy to that. And they were a jerk. They were, can we cuss?
Oh, fuck yeah.
They were an asshole. And so you think, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that person. So you will, if you're a kind and compassionate person, you will not go there. You'll do anything you can to not be that person and show up that way in the world, because you think it has to look like that. And I think boundaries can look very different. And part of that is feeling worthy of them, and who am I to have them? Yeah. So I think there's an interplay and dance in there that we come up against all the time.
To be certain, I think that's really helpful, because I think about I wrote a post so many years ago about unclenching your boundaries, because I think that there's also a serious rigidity to it, whether or not, and so as a I love this narrative. As a Libran life coach, mine tend to be a little bit watery. Definitely, this is one of the attributes of the imposter complex that I struggle with. People pleasing and boundaries, and of course, those are also deeply connected. Sure. The other attributes of like diminishment, I got that handled, but boundaries, to be certain, because that's such an interesting point, because I think that we see, if we're holding our boundaries, then we can, if we're holding them firmly with no empathy, compassion, lightness, it can be very off-putting.
Yes, and feel very rigid. And I often feel that people are hesitant to cultivate or nurture a boundary, because it feels like it's a lifelong commitment, that you're stuck here if you do this, and otherwise you're a hypocrite. And so you're hesitant to even have them sometimes, because I don't know if I'm going to want this forever. And your boundaries need to bend and flex to support you. I'm a really big believer in that they're much like a spine, that the spine gives us form, but also allows for movement. And your boundaries are there to honor what you value and what's important to you. Doing the things that the imposter complex wants to keep you from doing. All of those things, your boundaries are there to give structure and form to that. And man, if they're too tight, they snap.
Right. Love that. Love that. The analogy that I use, and I know you've got lots of brilliant metaphors for this, but I think of it in terms of like a dog park, the idea of like, so much joy can happen in the context of that, right? Like, but just they go like batshit crazy in that caged in space. Yeah. But that's required for everybody to feel nice and calm and cool. Because another point I hadn't quite connected to was, so many of the people that I work with, and I suspect the same is true for you, have super strong values of connection. And so, right? So there's this feeling of, if I have boundaries, therefore, by definition, I'm having to disconnect. And actually, I want to say this, we have on both sides, we are so blessed. Oh my God, we have the best neighbors on both sides. And on both sides, we have fantastic fences. And that makes me think of, what's the dude? Good fences make good neighbors?
Yeah.
Is that Frost? Yeah.
Yes.
It's Frost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So connection, right?
Connection and kindness.
Oh, and
You
kindness.
also want to be a nice person, and so this is what a nice person does. And then there's the whole concept of idiot compassion, where you're doing things that you think are being kind or helpful to somebody else, and actually it's quite not that. It looks like
idiot compassion, is that what we're talking about here?
Well, I just bring that in as an example.
Love that. One of the things that's been coming up a lot, and I will not name names, but with one of my clients this week, we were talking about, there's no way that I can't say this without with it sounding like I'm being a bit of a smartass. I really don't mean to be, but there was something in and around a boundaried situation with family members. I'm trying to be as non-specific as possible. And it was really like, do they know? Have they seen, like, do they know where the boundary is? Like, if they don't know what your boundary is, like, how can you protect it, or feel agitated that it's been breached?
Right.
And so this came up if you tell them not to worry, like, don't worry about it. I got this thing, even though I'm really pissed off that I've got this thing that I really wanted you to do. If you tell them not to worry, the chances are good they're not going to worry, right? So do you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, I've got this boundary over here. I'm really annoyed that everybody's walking through it, but they can't see it.
Yes.
So I know this is like, I'm asking you to talk about your whole body of work in like 20 minutes. So that's kind of a key piece, right? Is letting other people know where they are, knowing what they are, and then letting other people know what they are, correct?
Yes. It's huge. It's huge. And what it might seem like the back door into the conversation, what I often find is people are either really frustrated that their boundaries aren't being honored. And to your point, other people actually don't know because they haven't articulated it verbally, energetically, or whatever, the interpretive dance, whatever is necessary to get that across. And it's also really hard for them to believe it, whether you have articulated it or not, if you yourself are not honoring it, which is super common. Please don't do this. And then, or I can't do the carpool, and you keep doing the carpool, and you keep doing the carpool, and you keep doing the carpool, or don't text me anymore. Okay, I'm texting you back to say don't text me anymore. I'm texting you back, really, you're not supposed to text me. And so there's this whole thing of you not honoring it yourself, so people don't believe it, whether they are intentionally saying, what does she mean? Does she believe this? But it's not getting that message. So, and back a little bit more into what you were saying, articulating the boundaries verbally is huge, and most people don't because they don't know how, or it's backfired in the past, and so it's another one of those don't go there situations, or you think you have to be a jerk to do it.
So backfired how? Oh, sorry, love.
So backfire. Let's say you think you took a stand and you did this, and it was so out of alignment with who you are, so consequently it didn't work. Right? So then it backfired, and it felt like crap. The person didn't get it because it was very not you. It was not the way you would handle things, but it's the way you think you're supposed to handle a boundary, which is really common. So, yeah, it really helps to let people know. And I really feel like healthy boundaries are kind of like an instruction book for people getting you at your best, right? Whether those are in a business context, it might be your policies, or I call it a love letter to your clients. You might not hand your partner a handbook, probably not always recommended.
We don't do that?
Sign the back.
Really? I feel like I've done that already. Should I take it back?
You might be very advanced, but a lot of people don't do that. But being able to help them know what those boundaries are is really about getting the best version of you, so that it's like be guys for a second. It's like reading the car manual to make that baby hum. It's essentially what the boundaries are for ourselves. Sorry.
I will never, ever get that out of my head. You dropping your voice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What I love about that, okay, so but the 15 things I love about that, one is that if you're going to write the manual, then you better know the manual really well before you can write the manual, right? So it really is this sort of internal job first before you can start expressing it. Right. And then the other piece there too is there's something we're going to go deep into the strategies on Tuesday when we're talking this, because clearly there's a lot to say about this.
Yeah.
And one of the pieces we're going to be talking about is, as it relates to my imposter complex work and how I often speak about boundaries, it's a building your authority thesis. So bolstering your authority thesis. So understanding, and I've been thinking about that, like, what does that actually mean in the context of really specifically what it means in terms of boundaries? But I was thinking about that as you were talking. I was realizing that there have been, as much as I have this narrative that I don't have the best boundaries, there are places that I have been really masterfully firm. And it's something that just tweaked that I remembered, for instance, starting my business. And then I am sure this is exceedingly common for many of the people who are going to be watching. We work from home and we have a physical, we've got some physical boundary issues. Maybe we don't have offices or whatever it is. And I remember starting my business 10 years ago and having a push-pull constantly with people understanding what my workspace was. I didn't know then. And then actually having a physical file folder binder that, like, when people would just get too in my face, I would literally take it and go find an office elsewhere. That meant the library or meant whatever it is. But I hadn't connected that until something that you said. I don't know what it is. But when we can look back and we can see places that we have actually displayed pretty strong boundaries. And I think that's really important, because I think that that narrative can be really strong, that I've got lousy boundaries. Therefore, this isn't something, it's too hard to get in shape when you talk about this being a lifelong practice, or like muscles. It's too hard to do this. But if you can remind ourselves of places that we've already done it, maybe that brings a little more softness into it. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. And I know that's a big part of your work, seeing where it's gone well in the past and being able to replicate those types of situations. And for boundaries, I think you can look and see where, so sometimes I ask people to treat boundaries like, if you had an allergy, if you had an anaphylactic response to something,
right,
it would be a don't go there thing, don't go there type of thing. So you would do that if the opportunity, if the conditions required it, or if you were going to win the lottery, you would turn in the ticket at a certain time if the conditions require it. But I also think we can look in terms of boundaries and bolstering your authority thesis, see even outside ourselves. Because so when I think about you, and you know this, I've said this many times to you, I call you Mama Bear Love. Because you've got this Mama Bear love that envelops your clients and friends like this. And so I know you can go Mama Bear when you need to. A lot of people feel that way about their pets or their kids or something like that. We can do it. It's about also saying we can do it for ourselves as well, because we definitely have those skills. If somebody starts trampling on somebody in your life that's very dear to you, it's totally possible that goes back to, I think, the imposter complex and unworthiness. Can I be that for myself? And I hear this time and time again with my clients. I'm great at standing up for this, but unless it's mine, then forget it. Yeah.
Oh my Lord! Can I get an amen? Talk to me about fear, about FOMO, fear of missing out. How does that relate to boundary?
So I have 5, which I'll talk about in the webinar on Tuesday. I have 5 things I think are underlying cause for crappy boundaries or feeling challenged with boundaries. Fear of missing out, FOMO, is a huge one. You say yes to doing things you might not want to do, or no to not doing things you might not want to do, or you would want to do, because you don't want to miss out on something. You want to be connected. So going back to the example you gave, if you value connection, you might be thinking, oh, that might be something I want to do, but on a deeper level, if you don't. Because I actually do think our values are like North Stars or Southern Crosses for seeing where our boundaries lie and where that's huge, and how to work with them. Yeah. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I got very visual in my head. Sort of thing. Yeah.
I started singing Southern Cross in my head, so.
Oh, sorry, Little Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Yeah, baby. You know it. We have a question. Did you see this? Have you seen this? Have you use Crowdcast, right?
But when I got in.
Okay. So Susan asks, I have recently started to embrace a much bigger, bolder vision for my life. Yes. I'm struggling to navigate the limiting beliefs I grew up with, both in my family and my community, around living a big, bold life and taking center stage. Yeah, baby. Part of me feels like I'm cheating on my family of origin with these sparkly dreams, and I go down a who do you think you are spiral and get stuck. Would love your perspective on this. Thank you. So good. All right.
Good question. It's a really, you're not alone in that, Susan.
Okay.
A lot of people have that.
Take it away. Yeah, take it away.
So we do a lot of work around what I call ghost roles or ghost voices in where you got these ideas of you're not worth it, or you can't do that, or you can't make a living doing this. Wherever these come from, whether they are past people you know, historical events, something that is in the past that is like a moon in the constellation of who you are. It has this gravitational pull. And so my literary boyfriend, Mark Twain, you know my love for Mark Twain, said something to the effect of, I kind of screw up his quotes because I love him. Beware of what you read in a health book. There might be a misprint.
So good.
Or you could beware of what you read in a book about health. You could die of a misprint.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yes. So people may have given us the wrong message. Either they were really unskilled at it, unsophisticated, were dealing with their own neuroses, and somehow we got essentially a misprint that we are still allowing to guide us in life based on what I'd like to consider was a misprint. So what would a better and intended message have been that would serve you now? And so we go back and we replace that to the greatest degree that we can, and find if your family said you're unworthy of this, what is a better message you would have received? Let's assume they're lovely people, but they really were bad at giving you the right message, or somebody had a crap day one time. I mean, I'm terrible at, I'm not supposed to admit this. My friend says it's like saying I don't read, yay. I'm not good at math. And I think my brain's wired different, but I also remember a math test where the teacher berated me. It was just terrible. And I got this message as opposed to, hey, let's look at this differently. And I think that's what happens. We get this message. So we need to go back and change what that message is. See what would have been a much better message, because I think that will really shift you back onto course. That takes that moon out of there so you don't have that pull, and you can get out of that spiral.
So good. So good.
Susan, you can tell me if that was helpful or not. Tanya might have something too.
I've got thoughts too, and that is so good. So good. I think that so it's my turn to misquote somebody, because apparently that's what we do, is we misquote at each other.
We attribute our misquotes.
Misquotes.
Yes.
We can fix it in post. No, we actually can't, because this is totally live. I think it's Bishop T.D. Jakes said, you can't expect pint-sized love from quart-sized people, vice versa. So right. That's not actually helpful in this precise moment, because when we approach this from the perspective that they're coming at from a place of love and their own fears, right? So they're coming at this from their own conditioning in around being bad at math. You see this all the time where when I first started my work with Board of Directors, Randi knows, that's really a gathering of people and other perspectives on what's going on in their life. And oftentimes what shows up are our own inner critics. So right. My fear about somebody's money worries are 100% my own money worries. So that's what tends to be showing up. So Randi, you're speaking to dialing that down, I think, and remessaging that. And I also think that there is love and discernment and compassion when we can recognize that not everybody can be our everything to us, and recognizing that there are those of us who are, our job is to find the people who will lift us up into, and who will be able to hold that bigger vision for ourselves, who celebrate that bigger vision of ourselves. And trust me when I say that they are all around you. right? All around you. And it's our job to find them. It's our job to find them and to not let go, to hang on and to not let go. And then the third thing I would say, and this is, I use this term all the time, and I give props to our friend Lauren Bacon for turning me on to this when we were doing our Beyond Compare work, but the idea of being a model of possibility. So, and I think it came from Laverne Cox. So, like, instead of thinking about being a role model, what about being a model of possibility? And I think about that in the context of what would that be like to just be that person in your life that goes, yes, this is bold, this is scary, I could use some support, but if you can't be there in the way that I need you to be supporting me, I'm just going to shine on and maybe you'll come with me too. Like, that's the Pollyanna-esque way that I approach things, but I see it time and time again, and it works.
Oh gosh, yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Susan, let us know if there's anything else that you more you want to say about that. So that's a handy dandy ask a question, suggest a topic. That's where we go. All right. Oh, Randi,
yes.
Do you have any practices? It's a little energetic woo-woo, but I know we can do this. Do you have any energetic practices that you use to seal things up? Say you've had kind of a day where maybe you felt a little affronted, you felt a little pecked at, you felt your boundaries are feeling a little holy, and I don't mean of the sacred varietal. Do you have any practices?
Yes, and it's funny that you said seal. I learned this from my dad, who's a Navy SEAL. And this is what they often did in SEAL training. And then Ann Cuddy's work is all about this. It was fun to kind of see her come around through her TED Talk, and now she's getting a lot of recognition. But I learned this as a little kid, and actor she says too. But I learned it from a SEAL. They would hold a stance or position for what they thought courage looked like, or bravery, or overcoming something. Physically hold it for a couple of minutes if you can. And that somehow tricks the body. I don't say tricks. It reminds the body of what that feels like, and you start to go through the motions of that stance. You start to walk into that place, whatever that is. So if you want to be very compassionate, or you want to forgive, whatever it is, what does that look like to you physically, or how's that feel? And then be in that position for a little while, as long as you can. And something starts to change. Biochemically, or it's muscle memory. There's some aspect of that starts to change, but our energy is very different, and very quickly we can move forward in a different way than we had been before. So if you're feeling all holy, what's important to you? How do you wish you would feel now, right? Or what's important to you? Who do you want to be in this moment? Take the stance of or posture of whatever you think that is. Hold it for as long as you can, not like 30 minutes, though that would be amazing. Even just seconds, and see how that changes for you.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. I've never thought about that in the context of boundaries. So I had to do a little name drop here. So she was in Toronto last March, and we had dinner together. Her people and my people got us together. We had dinner with me and her entourage, and her super amazing husband, just the sweetest. Anyway,
that's good.
Found a quiet little moment, and we were, but it wasn't so quiet because everybody had just seen her talking. But we were at the restaurant across the street from where she was, and there were like thousands of people at this place. Anyway, so whoever was coming afterwards, every single place she went, people were like this. And so and she posed for all these pictures, and every single picture, everybody's like, wow, right? So curious.
It was funny. I went into a bathroom stall not long, having referenced her work in a workshop I was doing, and we had a bathroom break. And right above all the stalls, you can see these people in the bathroom in their power pose.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool.
Actually, I did meet somebody once at a function who was standing like Wonder Woman when we met. And I like literally did not know where to, like, I didn't know what to do with it. Cause I was like, where do I shake?
Do we touch bellies? What do we do?
Okay. I see you too. It was super awesome. Okay. So Tara Gentili is brilliant. She told me that I would love doing these because I was saying, I need some fun. And she was like, do Facebook Lives and you will love it. And it's really fun. And she was right. And you were so great. And I'm really excited about our webinar together on Tuesday, where we are going to go deeper into the belly of the beast of boundaries and bolstering said boundaries. And this has been fantastic. So what do I tell people to do here? Follow me on Crowdcast. Register for, you'll just see it when you follow me on Crowdcast. The next thing coming up will be webinar, free webinar with Randi Buckley, my friend. It's awesome. And next week, I can't even tell you yet who my co-host for next week is going to be, but she's going to be equally, or he is going to be equally amazing. That's just how we roll around here. Love you, Randi. Thank you.
Pesos.
Wow.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.